Well, today's episode, we're bringing some questions onto the show that actually come into the office at J.L. Perkins Wealth Management. We're going to be covering increase in income, what to do with parents that are in retirement, Social Security, and also a vacation home. Some really good topics today we're going to dive into. We'll do that with Lee Perkins starting now.
Welcome to the My Retirement Clarity Podcast, where our goal is simple, to help you close the gap between what you know and what you implement. The team at J.L. Perkins Wealth Management does this by helping good people make great decisions so they can enjoy an amazing retirement. And now, here's your host and financial advisor, Lee Perkins.
Well, glad to have you on the show once more with Lee Perkins at J.L. Perkins Wealth Management there in Macon, Georgia. I am Ben George. And Lee, I appreciate you sending some of these questions over. I know these are some things that have come into your office, and I'm guessing you just thought these were pretty good topics and good conversations to bring to the show.
Yeah, so we got 4 topics to kind of go over today, and these are things that I actually, just recurring questions and situations that have actually happened in our office. So these are real world things that people are facing and want a little help on, and I thought, man, that would make for great show content. So yeah, we'll do 4 of these today, and maybe we'll do some more in future episodes, because this is what's going on in the real world for people.
Yeah, I think it's great I think other people will probably have the similar experience, but also kind of gives people a chance to kind of see your process and how you work through these types of situations with people. And again, that's the value of having a financial advisor on your side. If you haven't had time to talk with J.L. Perkins Wealth Management yet, it's very simple to get on Lee's calendar. Go to talkwithjlp.com. Again, talkwithjlp.com. Schedule a time that works for you, and you'll be off and running. And you can ask questions like these. It's the perfect time to bring these things up. But whatever it is, they'll help you with a customized plan to help you move forward towards retirement. But we got 4. Let's jump into this first one here, Lee. It says, I spent most of my career making a fairly steady salary, low 6 figures, but since joining a startup at just the right time 4 years ago, I've been making 3 to 4 times as much. I obviously love the new income, but I'm very worried about making the right decision with this money. I don't want to squander it, but I've never been at this income level before, and I don't really know what I'm doing. What would you recommend for me?
Well, the first thing I would say is congratulations. So you obviously have done something, or somebody saw something in you that increased what your value to the company is to at least this new company. So when I talk to this person, again, without giving too much information, it's new and they're asking the right questions. Hey, I've never made this much before. What am I supposed to do? Well, if you're 21 and this happens, I know what you're going to do. You're going to spend all of that money. So this person wasn't 21, so it's time to be wise about this. So I think there's a happy medium between spending more money, increasing lifestyle, but also let's be smart and maybe bump up the retirement savings. Because as I've said many times on the show, I've never met anybody who said, Lee, you know what? I think I saved too much money. That just doesn't happen. Now, there are people that we meet that have more money than they're ever going to spend. Now, but they didn't say I've saved too much. So that's the reality. Lots of people are going to wind up with way more money than they need. But in this situation of having 3 or 4 times their income, I would say increase your lifestyle to the level that is comfortable for you. Now that this person joined a startup a few years ago, I don't know how this company is doing right now, but you always want to be just mindful of all good things could come to an end. If you've been a low 6-figure income person and now making $300,000 or $400,000, know that it can go away. Now, I'm not saying that it would for this person, but it can go away, and you need to be prepared for it. So don't automatically adjust your lifestyle to where it's a $400,000 lifestyle, because if that changes and goes back the other way, you're going to be in trouble. As we sit here and record on October the 15th, we're in the middle of the government shutdown. Hopefully that's going to, it'll pass sooner rather than later, and things will get back to normal. But I've heard stories of people, and even kids of our clients, who are, they're not at work, they're not making any money, and this has been a week and a half, almost 2 weeks, and they're almost bankrupt. So that speaks to a different set of problems, because that tells me those people were living beyond their means and they didn't have other money set aside. So I would tell you, first of all, I would super fund an emergency fund. I'm a big fan of somebody big fan of somebody having two savings accounts, one that is truly an emergency fund and the other one that is a trip or a stuff fund. So that if you want to go somewhere and do something, or you want to buy something, you go to the trip or stuff fund. But the emergency fund is for true emergencies. And so whatever level that needs to be for you, I'm not going to throw a number out there, because I think sometimes people take that as the letter of the law, and it differs for people. But on the other money, boy, I would max fund your company retirement plan, maybe even consider, Roth inside of that, because you're now ineligible for a traditional Roth IRA, but there are no income limits on a Roth inside of your 401k. So I would do that. And then I would also take the rest of that money and pile it into an investment account, a non-qualified, non-retirement account, and save and invest that money so that when you're older, so this person, I'm not going to give the age, but when they're mid-50s, so they're younger than mid-50s now, when they're mid-50s, they've got options that other people don't have. So this can be a real blessing. You just got to be wise with what you do with it.
Yeah, and I'm guessing this person's probably ahead of the curve by just asking these questions, right, Lee? I mean, most people probably aren't being that responsible with the new money, and it's a great sign.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, most people just kind of keep that to themselves, increase the lifestyle, and all of a sudden they wake up and they're not in any better financial position 4 or 5 years down the road. But I mean, there are signs. They got stuff sitting out in their yard. They've bought one of everything, but those kind of things don't lead to long-term wealth and better options in retirement.
Absolutely. So some good guidance there for that situation. So if you're in that position, again, if you want to ask Lee questions directly, talkwithjlp.com, but hopefully that gives you some things to think about if you get a little salary boost this year.
Hey folks, Lee Perkins here. I wanted to tell you about our brand new book called Next Phase, How to Retire in a Year or Less Without Regrets. It's all about helping you prepare for the next phase of your life, whatever that looks like for you. So, if you're ready to make the most of your next phase, or if you're already retired and aren't sure you're doing all you can to get the most out of your retirement, then you'll want a copy of this book. All you have to do is text Next Phase to 478-475-2050, and we'll send you a copy right away. You can also access additional resources and register for one of our upcoming workshops at our website, www.myretirementclarity.com. Thanks for listening. Now back to the show.
All right, here's another good one. Lee, my parents are almost 70, and they're still in pretty good health right now, but I'm worried about what will happen if they need some serious health care down the road, because I have no idea what their financial picture looks like. Should I do anything to make sure that I don't end up getting financially wiped out myself by helping take care of them?
Yeah, so this is a real concern and a real need. I would say, if I ask the question, and I do this in the workshops that we do, if I ask the question, what is your biggest concern about money? Everybody says running out. That's the number one concern, running out of money. Now that people that are, I would say anywhere from 40 to 55 or 60, they're seeing the impacts of the cost of health care when their parents age. They see the impacts of that, and people are starting to be concerned. Maybe they haven't seen it directly in their family, but they've seen it with other families, and they're like, okay, I need to start thinking about this. Well, so the best time to address this for your parents would have been, your 70-year-old parents would have been 20 years ago. The best time to address it now, because we're not 20 years ago, it is today. So you got to do something about it now. I would say it starts with a conversation with your parents. Let's be honest and be real about what they have. And it's a difficult conversation. Not that you're being nosy, but I think it's a conversation that needs to be had just so everybody is on the same page, because some people have different ideas about what's going to happen. I met with a client years ago, single lady, no kids, not married, and she just wanted to become a ward of the state and go on Medicaid and do all that. But she wanted to keep all of her money. I was like, that's not how it works. You're going to have to pay for that care unless you have some type of insurance in place to pay for that. So I'd have the conversation with your parents. There are some things that we help our clients do. You can, of course, buy traditional long-term care insurance, and most people don't do that because it is something that people see as a bill, and they don't see it as something that's going to happen to them. So they just bury their head head in the sand and think, okay, let's hope nothing happens. The stats tell us that depending on the study you look at, like 70 or 72% of people over the age of 65 are going to need some type of custodial care. So consider it and have a plan in place. If you can self-pay for that, fine. Most people can't do that. So having a little bit of help from an insurance company is good. We typically will consider something called asset-based long-term care, where we're looking at assets of someone, that maybe they have $1 million or $2 million or whatever. Can we carve off a portion of that, put it in a different account to leverage for long-term care needs? It's a pretty simple process. And if you don't use it, there's going to be a death benefit for somebody. So that's one of the options. There are also, traditional life insurance policies now. Most of them permanent policies, not necessarily term policies, will all have what's called living benefits. So you can actually tap into that death benefit while you're still living to help pay for long-term care needs. So that's an option too. So again, we'd love to have a conversation with anybody about that, not only for their parents, but for their situation. And I don't think there's a better thing that you could do. We're going to make this a big push. I'm probably going to do a whole episode. Maybe Keith and I will kind of banter back and forth and talk about some of the things that we see. I just think it's the biggest hole in somebody's plan that is 60 years and older. I really believe that.
Yeah, and I think this is a good opportunity too to remind people about your book, The Next Phase, right? That kind of help position you, maybe not answer all the questions that you need, but it does kind of help you think about what's coming up next and how to best prepare yourself.
100%. And it's a easy read, short book. I think it's about 75 pages. You can kind of read it in a couple of hours. If you want a copy of that, just text the word Next Phase. I guess that's 2 words. Text Next Phase to 478-475-2050, and we will give you a copy of that book.
All right, a couple more situations to work through. Again, these are some questions that have come up in the office at J.L. Perkins Wealth Management we're bringing to the show today. But a good one on Social Security here. So I'm retiring next month at 67 and assume that I just start my Social Security as soon as I get my last paycheck. But my sister says that I should wait until 70 so I get a bigger amount. Is it worth waiting on this?
All right, so I probably won't spend as much time here as I do on some other topics, simply because I think I've covered my opinion on Social Security a bunch of times here on the show, and I don't want to sound like a broken record, but maybe I will. When you take Social Security, it's going to be completely up to you. I would be leery of getting advice from people that don't know you and your situation. It is true. Your sister is right. If you wait till 70, you're going to get a bigger amount. And maybe if you live, a certain amount of time, there's a break-even point. If you live to be X age, you are going to there's a crossover point where you're going to cumulatively have more money. But what I want you to think about is, can you do the things in your 80s that you could do in your mid-60s and 70s? And the truth is, you can't. So I want that Social Security income to make the biggest impact on your life when you're able to do things, because I would tell you, this is real world from experience. My clients that are in their 80s, even some of them that are late 70s, their Social Security check goes right into their bank and they never use it because they don't do anything, or they do way less than they did. So I'm a big fan of possibly considering taking it earlier. But again, we use that as a part of our whole process to consider what's the best time to take it for you. And it's not just delay so we get a bigger amount, because a bigger amount may not always have the biggest impact on you and your situation.
All right, yeah, definitely have a plan for yourself for Social Security, and again, that's what J.L. Perkins Wealth Management can help you with. We have past episodes too to go back and listen to get more thoughts on Social Security from Lee. All right, one last scenario here. So my 3 kids, all in their 40s, want me to join them in buying a vacation house that we could all share. Is this a bad idea?
My quick answer is yes. I would. There's probably not a quicker way to have people bickering about things than having 4 people own a house. So again, I'm not trying to poo-poo an idea of having a vacation house. I just think having 4 separate ownership stakes in a property like that is going to cause issues, because you're going to, you could possibly fight over the peak weeks. What happens if one kid loses their job and they can't fulfill their obligations of the house, then people have to buy it out, or if somebody wants to sell theirs because they can't do it anymore. So this person referenced 3 kids that are in their 40s. This person was early 60s, maybe mid-60s. It was mid-60s. I'm fine with a vacation home. I really like the idea of having a vacation home, but man, I just don't think you want to bring in all of the issues that can come with having 3 additional people owning that. Every client that I've ever had that has owned a vacation home with another person has had issues at some point. It'll work out great for a couple of years because everybody is gung-ho and we're going to do this, but it starts to wear on you. And I can just tell you from experience, that's not a good thing. So this scenario was me talking to the older person, not the kids. I would say if you want to buy a vacation house let the kids use it, I think that's a better plan than everybody going in together and buying it together. And so if you want to buy it and let the kids use it whenever they want, let them work through all that, it's fine. But you got to make sure that you can afford it and you're not counting on income from the kids using it. That's to me, I'll kind of go off on a tangent here with this whole scenario is about kids wanting to buy, going to buy a vacation house. I'll tell you another question. God, I can't tell you how many times a client will come in and say, "Hey, my kid wants me to give them some money because they want to open a business," and the business just doesn't fly, and I can see it going downhill quickly, and the parent's going to lose the money. But oftentimes they'll do it anyway because it's their kid and they want to help them out. So just be careful when you're thinking about doing things that may have some type of strings attached to it, because all these kids are like, I'm going to pay you back. I'm going to pay you back. I wouldn't loan them the money. I would just give them the money. And if that's an advancement on the inheritance, then call it an advancement on the inheritance, but don't expect it back because it's just going to lead to problems. So yeah, that's a bad idea.
All right, great episode, and really hopefully this kind of helps you out a little bit if you thought about any of these things or had questions similar to this. And hey, maybe you run into one of these situations down the road too, and you can kind of think back on what we discussed today. But again, if you have any specific scenarios, anything in your life that's going on that you need a little help with, a little guidance with, great time to reach out to JL Perkins Wealth Management there in Macon, Georgia, and get some help. Go to talkwithjlp.com to schedule a meeting. Again, talkwithjlp.com, and also text 478-475-2050. Just text next phase to that number to take advantage of that book offer that Lee provides for you just for listening to the podcast. All right, Lee, I'm going to close it out with one more quote I thought was great. If we talk a little bit about taxes, I know we talk a lot about it here on the show, but this is a good one. And I think as a dad, I might have to try to use this. But the best way to teach your kids about taxes is by eating 30% of their ice cream. And that is from comedian Bill Murray.
Yeah, that's good advice. I'm going to try that. I'll let you know how it goes. I don't think it's going to go well though.
I try to use that for other stuff they eat. Let me try this out first. This is your tax. I need to get into this a little bit, but hey, you got to teach them somehow. That's
you
start
do.
Early. All right, we'll close it out on that note. Thanks for being a part of My Retirement Clarity. Please subscribe if you haven't already. We'll talk to you again soon. Lee, take care.
You too. See you, man. Hey there, Lee Perkins here. If you're like a lot of folks, you've been listening to this podcast for a long time now. But I've got an important question for you. Have you implemented any of the ideas that we've discussed on the show? If you haven't, what are you waiting on? You know you're not getting any younger. So here's my challenge. Don't just consume the content. Our number one goal for this podcast is to help you close the gap between what you know and what you implement. So if you're ready to implement, take that first step today and visit www.talkwithjlp.com and schedule a 15-minute phone call with one of our advisors, and we'll help you close the gap between what you know and what you implement so you can enjoy the next phase of your life. Now is your time. Don't procrastinate any longer.
Investment advisory services are offered by JL Perkins Wealth Management, a registered investment advisor and insurance agency. Information is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute tax, legal, or investment advice. Always consult with a qualified tax, legal, or investment professional before taking any action.